Oh, first podcast, man, and it's crazy to think about how far we have gone as a channel, man. When I first made this account, when I first made this YouTube channel, I remember in the first few weeks, I got 8 subscribers. I think it was the first week. I got 8 subscribers the first week, and I was so happy, but I was like, man, it's going to take forever. Then I remember when I hit 50. Then I remember when I hit 100. Now we're at 175, dude. That's crazy. I'm absolutely blessed, and I thank the world for all of you guys. And trust me, you guys motivate me to create the best MMA content on YouTube, without a doubt. Let's talk about the fights last night, and let's talk about this main event, though, to be fair. So, the main event. Cody Garbrandt loses to Rob Font via unanimous decision. So, so the 50-45s I felt like were a bit, a bit over-exaggerated. I didn't think he lost that bad, but I definitely do. I definitely did think that he lost, but it was more so Cody Garbrandt losing the fight for himself than Rob Font just beating him, Cody Garbrandt, everything was going so well for Cody Garbrandt the first 2 rounds. Takedowns, and was controlling Rob Font on the ground, man. Rob Font has some horrendous takedown defense, man. He really needs to get that fixed, because I'll say this right now. Aljamain Sterling is his kryptonite. But he'll do pretty good against Petr Yan. They're about the same speed, similar in the boxing skills. And that's a fun fight. That's a fun fight, him versus Petr Yan. But him versus Aljamain Sterling, that's almost his kryptonite, man. He gets taken down that easy. He's going to get submitted. But Cody Garbrandt, man, it was kind of frustrating to watch, because Cody Garbrandt, it's like he got jabbed and he ate the jabs all night long. And I know I kind of expected that. But it's like, for the first 2 rounds to go the way they went, I definitely thought that he had a solid route to winning. Mixing up his deadly striking with his wrestling would be a recipe for success. But the guy fell apart as the fight went on. He ate jabs, but his chin held up. You guys saw how good his chin held up. He actually has a solid chin now. He has a solid chin. So it's like you can't make fun of his chin anymore. But, that's not the way you want to show your grit in the cage, is by eating shots, But he ate a bunch of shots, but it was all because he was so tired. He got tired by the end of the second round. I believe he won the first round. I believe he lost the second round, but it was competitive. But tough night for Cody Garbrandt, man. 8 jabs all night. Rob Font wins. Congratulations, Rob Font. So I watched the fights, and, the thing is about the Yao Jianan versus, I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, you guys. It's a little hard to pronounce it, but Carla Esparza dominated her, and it was ugly. The stoppage was ugly. It was a pretty ugly stoppage, and I agree with the stoppage. A lot of you guys on Twitter were like, oh, no, they could have let her fight out of it. No, she wasn't going to fight out of it. That's the thing. When Yao Jianan got put on her back, she looked like she absolutely did not know what the hell to do. But the main thing is that she was just kind of trying to hunt down Carla Esparza. She was like trying to, what I think truly what was going on is that I don't think that she understood how good of a wrestler and how good Carla Esparza's top control is. So that she walked down and tried to implement the same game plan that she did against Claudia Gadelha. And she put on a masterclass in that performance, and her confidence was probably extremely high. She probably thought, like everybody, which I agree. I think if you're going to strike tit for tat with this girl, I think that is a bad game plan for any striker in their division. I do think that that's not smart. If she holds the advantage there, I do believe that you should try and mix it up with grapplings and takedowns and all that. Carla Esparza did just that, and it exposed a massive hole in her game. It's like she got took down and she just looked like a fish out of water. You know what it reminded me a lot of? It reminded me a lot of Francis Ngannou when he fought Stipe the first time. You remember that? And how Stipe took him down and Francis just looked like, what the hell do I do here? Like, what on earth do I do? And so I found it crazy is that now everybody is favoring Carla Esparza's chances against Rose even more now. So, I always thought that Esparza, if she could get back to where she was, like if she could get that flame back, which is obvious that she has, I thought that she would always be a problem for Rose. And it is because her wrestling and her takedown and her top control is no joke. It's no joke. And unfortunately, Yao Jianan had to find that out the hard way. But, it's no joke. Well, I think that she'll be able to do that to the same level that she did. No, I don't think that. whenever Carla Esparza gets Rose on her back that she's going to control her like she just did Homegirl. No. Because Rose Namajunas has way better ground game than Yao Jianan. And it's just evident after seeing this, especially ground defense. I mean, it looked like she didn't even really try to get back up to her feet. But I really don't think that it's not that she tried. I just think that she just really couldn't. That Carla Esparza was just so much superior on the ground. That what I really think is that Yao Jianan just simply underrated Carla Esparza's wrestling and her top control. That she walked in and she overcommitted with a strike and just got counter takedown. Rose Namajunas will never do that. She will never engage Carla Esparza like that. If anything, every time that Rose Namajunas will engage Carla Esparza, it'll be in the center of the cage. Carla Esparza's striking still cannot compete with Rose Namajunas'. You guys got to understand is that Carla Esparza fought a way different Rose Namajunas way back in the day. And it's like Rose Namajunas was a lot more scrappier. She was a lot more get in there and have a war with you to now she's a full-blown technical striker now. And in the center of the cage, I have to be honest with you, Carla Esparza gets picked apart. She gets picked apart. But she grabs a single leg. She grabs a double leg. Rose Namajunas overcommits. It goes to the ground and it can spell trouble for Rose Namajunas because her top control is something lethal. Rose Namajunas is slick off her back, yeah, but I don't know if she can just pull off something super duper slick and submit Carla Esparza from the bottom like that. I don't know if Carla Esparza, I believe that Carla Esparza's ground game is good enough to stay safe of Rose Namajunas' traps, but I mean, Rose Namajunas is so high level, you just never know, man. It could go 50-50 on the ground, but I do think Rose Namajunas will continue to get back up. My thing is that how long can she keep Homegirl off of her? How long can she keep Carla Esparza off of her? But all I know is in the center of the cage, and as long as it stays on the feet, Carla Esparza will get picked apart. She is not the level of striking of Rose Namajunas. She's just not. There's a reason why she went straight to the grappling for Yao Jianan. She's not going to try and stand with Rose. She's going to try and take her down immediately. And the thing is that if you watched her fight with Joanna, whenever her takedowns were thwarted and she was forced to strike, Joanna Jędrzejczyk absolutely murdered her on the feet. Murdered her. And it's like, will she start panic wrestling and just start forcing the takedown? I believe she gets picked apart for long enough, her composure will drop and she will start walking into things. And maybe that's a flash KO, like a knee or a kick, or if it's a submission. I believe it'll be a choke. I believe that she takes down. I believe that in the center of the cage, I believe early on her wrestling will prove strong and try to be a little bit of a problem for Rose. But once Rose finds a way around the takedown, it's going to stay on the feet in the center of the cage. Or if she's getting backed up, I actually believe Carla Esparza has a better chance countering Rose with her takedowns and making Rose go after her and then trying to counter Rose with the takedowns rather than trying to take Rose down in the center of the cage. Because she's just not going to be able to close that distance safely, man. Even if she does shoot in and tries to grab a leg, I believe that she just eats the canvas. She's going to try and grab a leg, and then she's literally going to miss because the footwork of Rose Namajunas. And then she's going to get back up, and she's just going to get picked apart. The longer this fight stays in the center of the cage, because I do believe that this is next for Rose, if it's not a Weili Zhang rematch, is that she's going to get Carla Esparza, and we're going to learn a lot. Does she really have trouble against wrestlers? If she's able to thwart the takedowns and keep it on the feet, we will see a masterclass from Rose Namajunas, you guys. An absolute masterclass. But that's not underestimating Carla Esparza. I do think she's good, and I do think there is a path to victory. I do think that she can just ragdoll Rose Namajunas for 5 rounds, but I just don't think that that's super likely. I got Rose in that fight is what I'm saying. But good work out of her. Yao Jianan, man, she really has to. Her striking is crisp. Her striking is good. Her power is good. Her strength is good. But, man, that freaking dude, she can't just look like a fish out of water when she gets taken down, man. Otherwise, she's going to have some problems. Imagine if that was Tatiana Suarez on top of her. Oh, dude. But as for that, after that, the matchups I think that they should have after that, Yao Jianan, I mean, go back to giving her cans. Just throw her in there with somebody that, you know, like, I'm not going to say a tune-up fight. It really just depends on what the UFC wants to do with her. If they think about creating a star out of her, maybe give her a can. Maybe give her, what's that girl's name? What's her name? Fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Gosh, I forgot. The Tiny Tornado. What's her name? Tisha Torres. Give her Tisha Torres. I would love to see that. But anyway, on top of that, Let's move on to this fight because I'm not doing this in order, as you see. I'm doing it like as big the fight is, and I believe that this was a bigger fight than the co-main event. Edmund Shahbazian versus Jack Hermansson. What can I say, man? Big win for Jack. It's a big win for Jack. Edmund Shahbazian, man. I think that cardio bug bit him again, you guys. The first round was great from him. And after seeing that first round, I was convinced, like, man, if this guy has fixed his cardio, there's a big chance this fight goes like this for all 3 rounds. I mean, Jack just really couldn't get anything going. He kept eating jabs and counters, and it's just he was getting simply outboxed and outstruck on the feet badly in that first round. It just was obvious that there was a different level of striking in that first round. And that first round, Edmund Shahbazian shown us that he is the more superior striker than Edmund, which I kind of knew. I knew that already, but I mean, like, he was picking Jack apart. But Jack was finding ways to make it competitive anytime he got in the clinch, but it was like Edmund Shahbazian was beating him up that first round. I really thought that was clear. I thought Edmund Shahbazian clearly won that first round. Dude, the second round, Jack started fast, and it was just downhill for Edmund after that. I do think that it was competitive. I do think that it was a close round, but I do think Jack edged it out. I had Jack winning 2-1. I did, because it was obvious he won that third round. I mean, it was 10-8 round from there. And let's talk about that. The 10-8 round thing. I see a lot of people talking about like the 10-8 round and how they don't believe that this should be a 10-8. So I know back in the day you had to literally almost take a guy's life in there for it to be a 10-8 round. But I actually agree that a comfortable dominant round should be a 10-8 round. I believe those rounds where you almost take a guy's life in there, I believe that those rounds should be 10-7 rounds. I believe that we should throw 10-7 rounds more. I think that we should differ from boxing a little bit more and go a little bit heavy on those rounds because 10-9, that's a close round. It's competitive, but one guy edges you out. And then to dominate, and then you got to literally take a guy's life to get a 10-8 round. I don't think that. I think that 10-9 should be a competitive round, but one guy edges it out. And then I think 10-8 should be the guy comfortably won that round, whether he took him down and controlled him or just simply outclassed him on the feet for that round. Maybe get a knockdown in there. Then a 10-7 round is something like Khabib McGregor. Like the second round for Khabib versus McGregor, that's a 10-7 round. Khabib dropped Conor and then literally almost broke his face. Y'all remember that, where he was just literally standing over him. Gosh, phone, shut up. I'm recording a podcast right now. But anyway, so you know how Conor literally, like, almost... he was standing over Conor and was just literally, like, trying to crush his face. That's a 10-7 round. I believe that that's a 10-7 round, and that's not a 10-8 round, and I believe that 10-7 round should be used more. That's just my look at it. I do believe that it should be easier to get 10-8 rounds. I believe a comfortable win is a comfortable dominant round should be a 10-8 round. I believe a extreme dominant round should be a 10-7 round. That's how I look. Whether it's like a couple knockdowns in there or a knockdown in there, and it's like you just dominate. Yeah, that's a 10-7 round, buddy. Let's keep that 10-7 round. But back to the fight. So, yeah, man, that third round, in my opinion, that is my example of a 10-8 round. That third round, that was a comfortable win for Jack. I mean, I believe that if the pace was going, which whenever I was watching it up front, when I was watching it live, I did think like, man, if Edmund could keep this up, in my opinion, I didn't even think that would weigh heavy on the gas tank. His output in that first round, I thought that was for a normal fighter, even for a fighter with like McGregor's gas tank. I thought that output would definitely be able to keep up for 3 rounds. But dude, it's like the way the first round went, I was like, okay, dude, yeah, he's going to win this fight if he could keep this up. Because Jack could not get his game plan going. Because Edmund was just that much more superior on the feet. And then it's like, once Jack got a hold of him in that second round, I can just see that, dude, it was like the life of Edmund Shahbazian was like sucked out a little bit. It was like that first round really took a bit out of him. Then that second round was just... he made it competitive, yeah, but I just believe that was everything he had left. That third round, he was completely done. Completely gassed. And you know, dude, people are asking me now, they're like, hey man, do you think that the Edmund Shahbazian was just a hype train that just got derailed? I didn't want to say that. I just wanted to say that it was a gas tank issue, but the way Derek Brunson competed with him on the feet and it took him down and beat him up, it's like, I was like, man, that's not good. This guy can't go 5 rounds. Dude, but in this fight, it's like he can't go 3 rounds, you guys. He can't go 3 rounds. It's like, I don't know. He really has to take some time off. I don't know what the deal is, but whether it's like a health issue, why he can't go like long, you know? I don't think that it's his coach, no, because it's like everybody wants to give Edmund a hard time or whatever, but it's like he's got Edmund's boxing and his striking looking good. It's just that he can't keep it up. He's a complete fighter for the first round. Anything after that, he's like, it's just, everything just starts snowballing. It's like, I just don't get it. So it's like, he really needs to take some time and really work on that gas tank, man. If it's a health problem, then I'm sorry, like, you know, like, then we need to start looking at you like you need to start trying to finish your fights a little bit more. But it's like, dude, it's like, I don't think that you could go too far without a gas tank in the UFC. If you can't go 3 rounds, you can't at least win 3 rounds and then start slowing down in the 4th and 5th, dude, you're going to have some problems. You can't just be, like, we can't just be having fighters out here with these 10-minute gas tanks, man. You can't. I don't believe that you're going to be very successful with a 10-minute gas tank. You're not. I mean, look at your boy Paulo Costa. That only lasted him so long until it finally his O was taken. That and his linear approach to the way he fights. I mean, if there's a one-dimensional striker, it's Paulo Costa, you know? And it's like, for Edmund Shahbazian, gosh, I can't talk today, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just excited about the podcast. But for Edmund Shahbazian, man, it's like you just gotta, he has it. He has the potential to be great. But it's like that gas tank is such a liability, man. He has a 10-minute gas tank, and he has to get it fixed. I wouldn't even say it's 10 minutes, you guys. I would say he has a 7 or 8-minute gas tank, you know. So, okay, so let's go ahead and let's just talk about what's next for these two guys. So Jack Hermansson, I mean, I would have said give him Brunson, but, you know, Brunson is already scheduled to fight Till, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just don't know, honestly, for Jack Hermansson, it's like he's already got beat by those top-level guys already. So it's hard to just say, let's throw him in there, because I remember the narrative around Jack Hermansson is that he's good, but he's not top 5 good. But it's like, give him somebody. Give him somebody good again. Give him a top-ranked opponent, you know. He already beat Kelvin Gastelum. So it's like, give him somebody who's decently good. I would say give him Kevin Holland, but I don't want to see that fight, man. But I don't know. It's like everybody's booked up already. Cannonier already beat the F out of him, but Cannonier's booked against Costa. Whitaker is waiting for, and they're not going to make that fight happen. Come on. If I'm Whitaker, I'm not taking that fight. It's looking a bit murky for Jack Hermansson, because he's already either lost or beat the guys that I would already put him up against. So it's like, maybe, honestly, they might have to give him Kevin Holland. Screw it. Make that fight. Kim versus Kevin Holland. As of now, I definitely see Jack Hermansson winning that. Well, on the feet, dude, I believe that Kevin Holland could catch Jack Hermansson. Competitive fight. But if I had to put my money on somebody, I would put my money on Jack Hermansson. Kevin Holland, he needs to take some time off and really defend those wrestling, because his bottom defense is good, but it's like, dude, it's like he just needs a little bit more better takedown defense, man. He gets taken down and he gets controlled a little too easily. But anyway, make that fight. Screw it. Why not? Make that fight happen. As for Edmund Shahbazian, or either that or make Kevin Holland versus Edmund Shahbazian. Right now, I absolutely got Kevin Holland winning that fight, man. And I believe if they match up that fight, if he gasses out before Kevin Holland does, I believe that it won't just be just a decision. I believe that he gets finished brutally. Kevin Holland, man, I think that he'll get finished if he tires out in front of Kevin Holland and start leaving himself up. Because for the first round, that is a competitive fight. But Edmund Shahbazian gasses out striking. So it's like, man, I don't know. That's a 5-round fight. If they make that like the headliner or something, I definitely got Kevin Holland winning that fight. I think that he'll come on early in the 3rd and 4th. Crazy to say, right? Kevin Holland. I believe that the first round probably goes to Edmund Shahbazian, just simply outboxing him. Second round is competitive, and then Kevin Holland takes over after that. And Kevin Holland doesn't have just the greatest gas tank himself, but it's like he has a better gas tank than Edmund, But, yeah, man, interesting time in the UFC. But let's go ahead and move on to this news, Let's go ahead and talk about some of this news that's going on. So, let me look. Okay, so let's see these potential fights. Oh, no, this is signed. Darien Till versus Derek Brunson. Wow. So I was going to do a breakdown of this fight. I still am. But if I have to give my early podcast off-the-rip prediction, Darien Till's going to win that fight. So Derek Brunson is good. He's good. But it's like he kind of has that Jack Hermansson about him. It's like he's good, but he's not top 5 good. Gatekeeper is what everybody keeps telling him. And so he's beaten the guys that were at that gatekeeper level. He's beaten those guys, right? But now he's entering into that beyond the gate territory, He's entering into the actual, the actual gated community now. And I think Darien Till is just going to send him right back down to where he came from. Get your ass right back in front of that gate and you keep defending it, all right? That's where you stay. This is sad. Derek Brunson, I'm not trying to crap on Derek Brunson. I don't like crapping on any fighter, but, his career is looking like the story of Journeyman. Is it not? Is it not? Even if he beats Till, let's say he beats Till and he loses this next fight. Journeyman. I mean, he has a Journeyman story, right? But I would say that more for Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier loses to Conor. Journeyman. He's a journeyman. I mean, how do you deny it? Journeyman. Journeyman. Yes, he has done great things. But he's never tasted that UFC gold, If he loses to Conor, journeyman. I'm sorry. But, anyway, Darien Till versus Derek Brunson. So, the way I mainly see is that I believe that Darien Till's defensive wrestling is good enough to stop most of Derek Brunson's attempts. I do. I do feel like he will. I absolutely do feel. I feel like he'll be able to keep it up for 5 rounds. Derek Brunson gasses out, as we can see. And what's crazy is that Derek Brunson was beating Kevin Holland while he was tired. While he was extremely tired. Although Kevin Holland was tired too, Derek Brunson was just as tired, but he was still controlling Kevin Holland on the ground. He's not going to be able to do that against Darien Till. Darien Till, first of all, Kevin Holland was skinnier and not as big as Derek Brunson. Darien Till is just as big as Derek Brunson. So he's going to have problems, at least with the strength and in the clinch, when he's going to try and control Till there. He's going to try and take him down because that's his only route. Because he has power in his hands to knock out Till, but Till's too technical of a striker just to unless if he takes Till down, and he controls him for a considerable amount of time and puts that fear in Darien Till, then I can see him coming up top and knocking out Darien Till. I can see that. I do see him. I do think he's capable of knocking out Till, but I don't think that it will land because I think that Till will defend most of the takedowns. And on the feet, are you kidding me? That is as mismatched as you can get. Darien Till is going to decapitate him on the feet. If they stay on the feet longer than a round, he's going to knock out Derek Brunson. He's going to catch him with something and drop him and put him out. That's how I see it. And, just the striking. Darien Till is going to push him back with a lot of kicks. I believe that Darien Till will throw kicks at him. But I believe Derek Brunson gets hit once, he's going to start panicking and trying to take Darien Till down to the ground. Until he walks into something, man. Maybe he throws a jab with his hands really low. The way Derek Brunson, he has so many defensive errors. He has so many defensive flaws. When he comes forward, the way he throws his straight shots, it's like his chin is he literally lifts his chin in the air and throws from his shoulders. It is so weird. Darien Till is going to literally sweep his chin clean with a left hand if he does that, which he will. I guarantee you that's the way he gets finished. He tries to come at Till, or I can see it going either way. They stand in the center of the cage, and Darien Till hits him with a flush shot and puts him down, and it's a TKO finish. But I can also see Derek Brunson trying to charge forward at Till, maybe trying to get him up against the cage so he can look to take him down, and Darien Till counters with the left hand and puts him out cold. I can see it going either way. One way I just don't see happening is that Derek Brunson takes down Till and controls him. I just don't see. I think that he maybe will for maybe half a round, but not for the entire fight. It definitely does not go the way that him versus Homeboy goes. Him versus Kevin Holland. Because I'm going to say this. Kevin Holland had a way to finish Derek Brunson. He could have finished Derek Brunson in that fight. But he overcommitted, and then Derek Brunson was still there enough to go for the leg, which is a wrestler's instinct. Wrestler's instinct, they get hurt, is to look for a leg immediately when they get dropped, you know. And Kevin Holland just didn't think that. And he didn't think the same way when he fought Marvin Vettori. So it's like he dove in trying to, you know, put the stamp on the finish, and, you know, it costed him because Derek Brunson immediately went for that leg. So Darren Till's not going to do that. He's a more skilled finisher than Kevin Holland is. He gets hurt in front of Darren Till like that, Darren Till's going to finish him. Darren Till's going to finish him. Absolutely. But if Derek Brunson wins, I believe it's a unanimous decision. If Darren Till wins, he could win by decision, he could win by TKO, and he could win by knockout. Yeah, I mean, it's just either way, you know. But let's move on to this other fight that's happening. Oh, yeah, Paulo Costa versus Jared Cannonier. So this fight is closer than people think. People are automatically writing off Paulo Costa. And I understand. Paulo Costa has a very linear way that he approaches fights. It's hunt you down and hit you hard, and back you up against the cage, hit you hard until I gas out. It's either I finish you or I gas out in the process of trying to finish you. That's how he fights. Yes, I know. But, you know, I definitely see where Jared Cannonier could crumble under some of that pressure. I can definitely see that, but boy, Jared Cannonier is going to kick the hell out of that leg, man. Paulo Costa is like a come-forward pressure-style boxer, so he leads to generate most of his power. Whenever he swings, then he sits down on that leg. But whenever, the way he fought Israel Adesanya, at least, he wasn't actually weighing heavy on that leg. He was actually standing up kind of tall, but it's just that he leaves his leg there vulnerable. He just has a bit of defensive flaws, man, when striking. He has a bit of defensive flaws, what I feel like Jared Cannonier is going to capitalize on crazy. The way that Paulo Costa is so vulnerable to countering and to jabs and to leg kicks, boy, you could almost see that that's a recipe for disaster for Jared Cannonier. My thing is that if Paulo Costa does enter into that danger zone safely and ends up wailing off some of his boxing on Jared Cannonier, I believe if he gets backs Jared Cannonier up and wails off on him a few times, Jared Cannonier is a different fighter after Paulo Costa unleashes on him, you know? Then he's going to be like, I feel like he's going to be a bit spooked, you know, after he gets wailed off on, but I believe that he has good enough composure to keep it under control, but I think he gets wailed off on, he's going to be like, man, okay, not going to back up against this fence, and he's going to stay up against the cage, and he's going to keep it in the center of the cage, which is where most of his advantages is going to be. This fight stays in the center of the cage, Jared Cannonier could absolutely knock out Paulo Costa. But boy, if he could back up Jared Cannonier and enter into that red zone, because best believe, Jared Cannonier can counter going back. He can. And he can counter with those leg kicks as well. He's going to throw a ton of those, watch. But it's just that if Paulo Costa somehow enters into that zone safely multiple times, he's going to piece up Jared Cannonier. He's going to piece him up. I believe Jared Cannonier is going to ball up against the cage and just kind of look to shield his head. And Paulo Costa is going to rip the body and rip the head. So that fight is closer than you think. I believe if Jared Cannonier can keep it in the center of the cage, he's going to absolutely mop the floor with Paulo Costa. But I really don't think that he'll be able to keep his back off the cage. I don't. Unless he can use those kicks. I believe in the first 2 rounds, he's going to really struggle with trying to keep his back off the cage. I see a bit of success for Paulo Costa in the early 2. I do. But I do think that Jared Cannonier is going to throw a lot of leg kicks, and I believe the leg kicks are going to take a toll by the end of the second round. And then Paulo Costa is going to be more comfortable in the center of the cage trying to strike with Jared Cannonier in the center of the cage. And that's where Jared Cannonier is going to have a ton of success. Because what Paulo Costa needs, the kryptonite to Paulo Costa is obviously counter strikes and leg kicks, but also getting outgunned. In the center of the cage, if he gets outgunned, he starts throwing, and Jared Cannonier lands more in the exchanges than he do, winning the exchanges with powerful shots of his own. Paulo Costa, that's going to be his deciding factor. And that's where he's going to meet his decisive end, you know. So, as of now, I got a third-round TKO. I got a third-round TKO for Jared Cannonier right now because I do believe that early on, Paulo Costa, first round, Paulo Costa is going to walk down Jared Cannonier. I believe that he is going to eat a few counters, eat a few jabs, and eat a bunch of leg kicks trying to come forward. But I do see him backing up Jared Cannonier, getting his back against the cage, and ripping to the body, ripping to the head, and piecing up Jared Cannonier, honestly. Because he's going to get backed up and he's going to ball up. He's going to stop moving for a little bit, and he's going to shell up against the cage and get rattled by those punches. Then he's going to move again once Paulo Costa stops, because he does do that. He kind of unloads on you, then you move, and then he just keeps trying to hunt you down. But I believe Jared Cannonier will circle back out to the center of the cage and then kick the leg and kick the body and make Paulo Costa eat a lot of jabs, make him work, And by the end of the second round, those leg kicks are going to take a toll on him. Those counters and those jabs are going to really start to frustrate him, and he's going to be more comfortable trying to box with Jared Cannonier in the center of the cage. And then once he does that, that's when the fight's over. He's going to get outgunned in the exchanges. He's going to get picked apart, and then something's going to land. Whether it's a punch or a high kick, it's going to land in Paulo Costa, dropping him, and then Jared Cannonier is going to finish him. So, yeah, as of right now, I got Jared Cannonier absolutely winning that fight. But I believe that it's closer than people think. People think that Jared Cannonier is just going to go out there and starch him in the first round. I actually don't see that. It could happen, but I don't see it. But, especially with the countering. But, yeah, fun fight, though. That is going to be a fantastic fight. A fantastic fight. So, let's keep it trucking. We're here sitting at about 30 minutes right now. Let me see what else is going on. Okay, so here we go. So, let's go ahead and move on to the questions. I believe that I covered up everything that is important that is going on right now. The potential fights and et cetera, et cetera. Somebody wanted me to talk about Dana White and the whole Jake Paul situation with Triller, how he's saying the head of Triller is begging, for GSP to box Oscar De La Hoya. So, I agree with Dana White. I really, really, really want these MMA fighters to stop boxing these YouTubers, man. Stop looking and boxing. Either if it's not YouTubers, these influencers or these other boxers, stop doing it, man. I'm tired of seeing it. Aren't you guys just tired of seeing it, man? This YouTuber versus TikTokers event, like, what the hell is this, man? And this isn't boxing. So I get questions about this a lot. Do I think that that this whole Shahbaz is ruining the UFC, or is it ruining boxing? It's definitely hurting boxing. It is. And for the people saying, it's bringing more eyes to the sport, it is bringing more eyes to the sport. But it's not bringing the eyes to the sport that you think that it is. It's not making people watch actual boxers. What it is doing is, yes, it's introducing people to the sport, but they're only going to be interested when those goofball events happen. That's the only time they're going to be interested. Maybe if boxing is on the TV, it's like, okay, then, like, if they see Canelo on, then, like, yeah. But all it is just going to grow your casual audience, dude. That's all it's going to do. And the casual fan base is not a foundation that you want to build a company on, A person that is in and out, you don't want that ever in your life, especially not if you're trying to form a business. An in and out person, it's like, they're on a hot streak one week and then they can go for weeks without watching your events. Yeah, no, you don't want that, man. You don't want to grow your casual audience. What you want for your business, especially boxing, is that you get the casual fans and you convert them into hardcore fans. You want to get a casual fan. So what they really want, they don't want the casual fans to be introduced to the sport of boxing through Jake Paul, because they're only going to be interested in these goofball fights in Jake Paul, So what you want is for them to discover somebody like Canelo, your big name in boxing right now, right? They see how great Canelo does, and they'd be like, man, this is awesome. I can't wait to see who he's going to fight next. And then they start doing research on the person he fights next, and then they turn into a hardcore fan, spirals into a hardcore fan. Not they start watching because of Jake Paul, and then it's like these goofball events. Once these goofball events stop, then they're going to stop. They're not going to watch boxing anymore. But as for the UFC, is it bringing more eyes to the UFC? In a way, it's hurting the UFC more, and it's hurting, it's also helping the UFC. Because Jake Paul is promoting the fighters, but how it's helping the UFC is that Jake Paul is actually... See, when they're boxing other YouTubers. So it's not the same, right? That's not going to help boxing. But how it's going to help the UFC is that if Jake Paul absolutely steps in there, mans up, and boxes Tyron Woodley, dude, I believe Tyron Woodley is absolutely going to win that fight, and we'll get into more of that later. But I do believe that Jake Paul will lose to Tyron Woodley. He will lose to Tyron Woodley, and it will probably he'll probably get finished. And so if he doesn't get finished, he definitely gets outpointed. And so, that's how that... Because once a UFC fighter, an MMA fighter, beats Jake Paul, then it'll bring more eyes to the sport. They're like, damn, these MMA fighters are really about it. He silenced Jake Paul. Then that's going to be like, okay, let me see what else they got going on over here in the UFC. In the UFC, in terms of shock factor, because boxing goes to a lot of decisions, UFC in terms of shock factor, they watch a really good card, which there's a lot of them, and see the flashy knockouts and the entertaining fights. That's going to make a hardcore fan out of anyone. That's going to make anybody come back and be like, man, I can't wait to see the next event, So, yeah, that's why the UFC grew so big off of Conor. When you have a Conor McGregor, that's going to make your business fluctuate. But Jake Paul is not the Conor McGregor of boxing. He's not. He is an outsider trying to box. And this whole thing about Jake Paul is just that he wants to be accepted, man. That's what it is at the end of the day. He just wants to be accepted. He wants to be a fighter. And he wants the other fighters to call him a fighter. But nobody's going to take him serious because he's not boxing real fighters. The way Jake Paul wins the respect of the fans is that if he does box Tyron Woodley next, because that's the only guys that are willing to fight him right now, I believe it's Tyron Woodley and Tommy Fury. If I'm him, I'm staying away from Tommy Fury as much as I can, because boy, that's not a good outcome for him. And Tommy Fury's an all-around better boxer than Jake Paul, all around. Tommy Fury is not top of the heap either. He's not that good either, but he is a real legit amateur fighter. He's an amateur fighter, which Jake Paul is not. He's only had 4 boxing matches against non-boxers. So it's like, Tommy Fury has at least been in there with legit boxers who are probably better than Jake Paul. Not probably. Tommy Fury has been in there with better boxers than Jake Paul. Much better boxers than Jake Paul. So I believe that fight is decently competitive the first round. That's it. I believe that Tommy Fury will honestly knock out Jake Paul. Not even kidding. So if I'm him, I'm staying away. If I'm his management, I'm staying away from Tommy Fury, which is sad because I want to see Jake Paul get ended brutally. But I'm going to go with Tyron Woodley. He fights Tyron Woodley and he beats Tyron Woodley. Let's say that he beats Tyron Woodley. I don't think that he will, but let's say he beats Woodley, right? Because that is a competitive fight. But let's say he beats Woodley, and that will earn him the respect. If he beats Nate Diaz, he wants Nate Diaz. If he beats Nate Diaz, which I think he has a better chance of beating Diaz than he does beating Woodley, then if he beats Diaz, then he will get the respect he's earning. He's crying for it, but it just will make more people hate him. But yeah, with that whole spiel, so yeah, that's about it for everything that was going on in the news. Let's move on to some of these questions, shall we? So, all right, the first question. Oh gosh, I get this question all the time. Once again, if you guys want to ask me questions, you guys have to follow me on Instagram, be following me on Instagram, and DM me your questions. How to know your question will be answered on the podcast is if I like it and screenshot it. That's how you're going to know. So, if you're not following me, I'm just going to look at you and not answer your... I'm just, So, anyway, let's go ahead and look at some of these questions. So, I'm not going to say you guys' name. Just let me know before the next podcast if you want to get shouted out like this. But I'm not going to put your social medias out there. So, let's move on to this question. This guy asks, so after seeing all of so basically, how do I see Colby versus Usman going now? After seeing all the improvements into Usman's game, how do you think that a second fight with Colby will go? Okay, so I get this question a lot. To break down this potential fight. So I think Colby gets finished earlier this time. And so it is competitive. That fight is always going to be competitive because of how similar they are. The wrestling is going to cancel each other out. But I do think in the second fight, we are going to see a bit of them back. Because I watched a live with Usman earlier today. And he was saying the reason why that fight looked like it was my hardest fight is because I chose to fight a certain way. I just wanted to stand in the middle and strike and hurt him, and until one of us falls over, and one of us did fall over, and I was like, okay, that's believable, you know, because a lot of these fighters make excuses for their close fights, and they don't really make a lot of sense. But that one makes sense. He wanted to hurt Colby. I get it. So I do think that in their second fight, we will see a bit more of them back. They're not just going to just completely, like, commit to just kickboxing. I do think that it'll be a little bit of clinch utilized. Maybe Colby goes for a takedown. I don't think Usman will try and take Colby down. He might, but I think that they might attempt takedowns and they just get defended. They're not taking each other down. If anybody's going to take somebody down, I believe that Usman is going to take down Colby, if there's going to be a takedown. Usman's too strong, man. That is the only part. So they are almost the same fighter. I believe that Colby is a bit more athletic and a bit more... I believe that Colby is actually a bit better of a striker, but he's just wild, man. He walks into stuff. And I believe that Usman is a bit more crisp, a bit more technical, but I believe that Colby is a bit more of the athletic, flashier striker, if that makes sense. I believe that he looks better on the feet than Usman does. But, you know, that fight, there's just different styles of striking. Colby uses more kicks. Usman uses more boxing. And, you know, it's just different styles of striking. But best believe it's similar striking, you know. Like, similar in skill, you know. So, it's going to be close on the feet every single time. But where they differ, where people say that, oh, Colby and Usman are very similar. They're almost the same fighter. Where they differ is that Colby puts out way more output than Usman. Way more volume. And Usman is stronger, bigger, and has more power. That is where it's going to differ. Colby, I believe, is going to try and because his only way to win is the volume, man. He won't have, if he doesn't go out there and try to put the volume on him, I see him talking about timing and all this other kind of stuff. If he doesn't go out there and try and put the volume on him and try to outwork Usman, he's going to lose, you know. And so, that's his shot to winning, is to overwhelm Usman on the feet. But I believe that he'll just walk into the same problems he did last time. He's going to overcommit with the hands and walk into the counter body shots. And the body shots are going to rip that body apart. I mean, that's not really much that he could fix with the body blows. He gets hurt with those body blows pretty easily, right? And Usman throws pretty hard. I believe he just gets eat with those body blows. And the newly developed jab of Usman is going to rip through Colby Covington's face. That is really going to put a halt. So this is why I say he gets finished earlier, is that Colby's only way to win, if he takes a slow approach, he's going to get eaten up with the jab. If he tries to put the volume on Usman, that newly developed jab, he's going to get his face eaten up with the jab again. And he's going to get backed up regardless. So he's going to put a halt to the volume. And then the body shots. So the jab and the body shots is just going to make Colby, like, halt. It's just going to make him stop in his tracks. That jab is going to eat him up this fight. And those body shots, you know. And then after the body shots and the jab takes a toll, Usman's going to set up something off that jab and just put him down again. I don't think that Colby can take a flush shot, you guys. I said that. I believe that Colby's body's really soft, man. I believe his face is soft, too. I believe that. I'm not even kidding when I say that. I believe Woodley landed on him. Burns lands on him. I believe that any of those guys land on him flush, he's going down. He is tough. He could fight back up to his feet, but I just think that he'll just get rocked early. I just think that he's too easily rocked, you know? So, anyway. So, yeah, I just believe that second round, man, Usman is going to set something up off that jab, man, and then just puts him down again and then finishes him again. It could be more brutal this time, but I believe it'll be similar to the way he finished him the first time. But anyway, let's move on. Oh, look, it's a Jake Paul question. So, Jake Paul is rumored to fight Woodley. How do you think that fight goes, and could Woodley shut this clown's mouth? Absolutely. So let's look at the boxing match on paper. Jake Paul, Woodley does almost everything. So they do things in boxing very similar. They both have this explosive overhand right that they throw, right? But Woodley is just better at throwing it, and Woodley has more power. So Woodley's faster than Jake, has more power than Jake, has better footwork than Jake, has better head movement than Jake, has better forward pressure than Jake. He does almost he edges out Jake Paul in everything. Jake Paul's really the biggest way. So with all of that out of the way, Woodley, everybody's like, oh, Woodley has lost his last 4 in MMA, not in boxing. And that's because you put the volume on Woodley and he cracks under the volume. Jake Paul doesn't have the head movement to go forward on Woodley and make him shell up in the boxing ring. He has the power to hurt him, but he does not have the volume to go forward. He doesn't have the head movement, the gas tank, or the chin, in my opinion, to go forward and take the punches from Woodley and make Woodley shell up. He doesn't have the skill set to pressure Woodley. He pressures Woodley, he's going to get knocked out. In classic Woodley fashion, he's going to get countered with that overhand right and put to the canvas. So his main way is to make Woodley come forward at him. And Jake Paul doesn't have the best head movement. So they're really going to resort to boxing in the middle of the cage, which is where Jake Paul could have a bit of success, actually. He could absolutely outbox Woodley in the middle of the cage, or he could at least make it competitive. I don't think he'll do it, though. I don't think that he'll be able to outbox Woodley. I believe that Woodley lands that right hand over and over and over until it eventually puts him down, man. That is a bad fight for Jake Paul. But if he wants the respect to be demanded and more people to tune in for his fights, fight Woodley and beat him, man. Because I guarantee you that will earn at least my respect. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, Woodley would absolutely win that fight. So moving on. Jake Paul versus Ben. What the hell? Oh, you're not following me. Nate Robinson versus Ben Askren. Ben Askren wins that fight, by the way. But no, you're not following me, so I'm not going to answer your question. But even though I just did. Moving on. Actually, we did not get that many questions this time. Not surprising. This is my first podcast, so you know. Oh, here we go. Nick Diaz versus Khamzat Chimaev. So, yeah, that fight was rumored. Dude, he's not going to win that fight, Nick Diaz. That's a bad fight for him. Even if Khamzat Chimaev isn't the hype that we all think that he is, Khamzat Chimaev, the Diaz brothers has a weakness to wrestlers first. And then wrestlers who can box with him and have power. Yeah, dude, he gets ripped apart in that fight. Like, I don't even need to go in depth into how bad that would be. Take down, beat him up, possible finish. Do I think Leon Edwards will finish Nate Diaz? Wow. So, Nate has taken a lot of damage, you guys. And I understand that Leon Edwards isn't just the finisher we think that he is that he's so much better than Diaz on the feet. And he's so much stronger in the clinch that I think that Diaz just gets iced for 5 rounds. But I can see like a kick catching Nate Diaz flush, putting him down, and I don't think he'll go out cold, but I think, like, the overwhelming damage, the ref will be forced to stop the fight. So, yeah, I could see a finish happening, absolutely. I do think that Edwards can finish Diaz. Will he? I don't know. But we'll just have to wait and see. But this looks like it's all for the questions, man. Send me more questions. I would love to go deeper into this podcast, but this has been my first podcast. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I got to get to editing this bitch so there will at least be a little bit of visuals, but let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I like talking to you guys. And every Sunday, I don't know what I'll name it. I think Sundays with Trippy. How does that sound? But anyway, first podcast. If you want to be featured in the next podcast, follow me on Instagram, then DM me your questions and they will get answered. Simple. If I don't get too many. But it's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.